Hello, all. I'm doing some writing, and I had a thought that it might be interesting to document what I'm doing with this project because it's unique. I'm using a different process this time, so I thought it might be fun or interesting to document what I'm doing. I started working on this in the fall of 2018, and with Sweven and Three Sides, there was I'm not sure what the word is, precipitative, precipitatory event that gave me the idea for the story. In Sweven, when I did Sweven, the event that gave me the idea for the story was when I connected with Nettie on Facebook, and I sent her those messages and found out that Todd had died. And then it wasn't long after that I started working on it. Three Sides had a different event that started it, that I used two completely different processes on those two books. Sweven was quick. It was basically just a really long letter to Todd, and it only took me maybe 6 to 9 months to write a first draft and then go back through and add to it and refine it. With Three Sides, it was a very long process. I wrote a first draft and let it sit. I couldn't think of an ending, and so it sat for many years, and then I picked it back up like 10-12 years later, wrote an ending, and then sent it to some people for feedback, and I got some really good feedback from several people. Brian Nichols gave me some really good feedback on it. Dr. Randy really liked it and gave me some good feedback on it, and he put me in touch with a lady named Johnny, who was a published author, and she read it and wrote me 20 pages of notes on it, on that first draft. And then at the same time, Samantha was taking, I think, a fiction writing class, and she had recommended to me a couple of books on writing, so I got copies of those, and I read through them, and I made a list of writing tasks to do in the rewrite process. And I went, it was probably 20 to 25 different things. It was things like remove adverbs, that type of stuff. And so I went through chapter by chapter. I did my rewrite, and then I went through chapter by chapter and made sure that each one of these things on the list was done properly. So it was a very laborious, tedious, long-term project. So this time I'm doing something completely different. So for this first video, I just want to talk about how it came about. The working title for the story. I don't know if you can see this. Boy, there's a problem using these cameras on computers. Working title is Miss Clark. Miss Clark was my teacher in 2nd and 3rd grade, and Candy Clark, her name was Candy Clark, and she invited her entire 3rd grade class to her wedding. She got married immediately after the school year in June of my 3rd grade year, and believe it or not, most of the 3rd grade class showed up unaccompanied by parents. So our parents just dropped us off at the church and then picked us up afterwards. And that'll be in the story. But I started writing something about, kind of a memoir about those grade school years, and I wrote about 50,000 words about things that happened in grade school. And then, well, not just things that happened in grade school. So I tried to come up with a backstory for Ms. Clark about her educational process and becoming a teacher and some of the things that she did. But what precipitated writing it was actually not anything involving Miss Clark. I had another teacher named Mrs. Francis, who also got married. She was my teacher in the 5th and 6th grade, and she got married partway through my 6th grade year. Her original name was Miss Wolfsair, and she got married and became Mrs. Francis. And I had a couple of incidents with Miss Wolfsair, Mrs. Francis, that I now regret. Things that I did that were not very thoughtful at the time. And one of them involved a teacher evaluation. She wanted us to write an evaluation, and I didn't want to do it. I just wasn't interested in it. I thought it was too cool to do something like that, so I avoided it. And then there were some disciplinary issues with my friends and I, mostly my friends, not me. And they decided to split us up. We had a group of desks that we had together, and they split us up into 2 groups. And I was very upset about it. So I wrote my evaluation based on that. It was not really an evaluation. It was just, basically told her that we wanted her just to leave us alone. And after I wrote it, turned it in, we went to recess, came back from recess, and one of the other teachers, we had a 3-teacher team that taught 3 classrooms all together, open classroom, very 70s thing. One of the other teachers read my evaluation to all 3 classes. And while she was doing that, Miss Wolfsair sat at her desk with her head in her hands, crying. So a lot of other stuff happened as a result of that, but needless to say, I feel pretty bad about it even now. So in the fall of 2018, I was at work one day, and I Googled her maiden name to see if I could find her, and I found a Margot Wolfsair who was teaching in the Beaverton School District, and I sent her an email. I said, hey, by chance, are you related to Barbara Wolfsair? And she was like, oh yeah, that's my aunt, and so I asked her to put me in touch with her. I put her in touch with me. So she did right away, sent me an email. She didn't really remember me. It was like her first year of teaching or second year of teaching. But I took the opportunity to write her the appropriate teacher evaluation, what she deserved at the time. And after that, we emailed back and forth a few times about it. She didn't remember the incident at all. I was thinking all these years that she was broke up over it, she didn't even remember it. She kind of questioned whether they should have read my evaluation out loud to the class while I was there in front of me. Anyway, we worked through it, and it just gave me an idea for the story. So that's where I started. All right, I'll pick up on this in the next video. It's getting too long.